programs recruit at an elite level. In football, when you recruit up front at the rate and level that you have been recruiting, guys, it's elite. Now, there are a lot of other things that come into that when you talk about national titles, SEC championships, all of that, developing. So many things comes into part of it. But the number one thing that makes teams elite, guys, the last time that you did something like this, you got guys like Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors. You went out in the portal. Oh, by the way, you got Jane Daniels. You got a top 5 pick at offensive tackle in Will Campbell. You did it in 2019. When you have the best overall talent, you will win a lot of football games. And today, LSU has gotten a commitment from the number 1 player on ESPN, a top 10 player on On3 and 247 in Lamar Brown. The number 1 player in the state of Louisiana, Lamar Brown, out of University High, Irwinville, Louisiana, stand up, has committed to the LSU Tigers. We will talk about it in great detail. We'll talk about it in great depth. LSU now currently has 3 5-star defensive linemen in their 2026 recruiting class. We will touch on that here today as well. DeAnthony Lafayette will be committing today around 3 o'clock. We'll talk about him. And, oh, by the way, Jay Johnson says, I won't in on some of this recruiting action. So we'll talk about that as well here today. Today will be a really big, very big recruiting show. We are live a little bit early. Had some things that I had to do for family-wise. And since we're in the off season, and well, since technically I'm my own boss, I can do whatever I want. But we are live a little bit earlier today because we have some family things that are going on. Might as well just play some EA Sports later on in the day if I have the time to do that. But glad that you're all here with us. It is a massive day for Brian Kelly. It's a massive day for LSU, and it's a massive day for LSU football and what could be a massive day for LSU baseball down the stretch here. Before we get rolling, before I get to all of your comments, I want to say this because I think it is very warranted. When you do great things, it needs to be pointed out. You know, a lot of times around LSU, we talk about the negatives. And sometimes when we talk about the negatives, you turn on me, you hate that we got to talk about them, but guys, it's what we do, it's what we cover. But it's always so much more fun to come out here and talk about when you're doing elite stuff. Guys, I got to admit something. If you were here on the show on Monday, I did not know if LSU, from a financial commitment, I did not know if they would make the ultimate, I don't want to say sacrifice, I did not know that if LSU, the staff and administration would do what needed to be done, because in the past, when it came down to money, you had not made some of those initial pops and gone for it. You haven't matched some other schools. You hadn't exceeded some other schools. Guys, you got to give Austin Thomas a lot of credit. You got to give him a lot of credit. The general manager for LSU football, since he now with the portal, now going through high school recruiting and all of that, now that he's really been in here and has been able to get his feet in the soil and has been able to do some things that maybe LSU hadn't been able to do in the past, even with the house settlement case coming down, but mainly from an NIL perspective, you're starting to take shots that, quite honestly, you had not been taking. Now, I will remind you, in 2021 and 2022, when Brian Kelly first got to LSU, there was a media narrative that was out there, mainly from some radio people, that LSU was, quote-unquote, behind in NIL. LSU, and a lot of you that are AYS truthers know those conversations that all of us had. LSU has never been behind in NIL. I don't think LSU was organized enough to know how to allocate the funds, nor did they have somebody structured to do what needed to be done when those situations arose, especially when it came down to football. But the bottom line remains, when you go out and get 3 5-star defensive linemen, 2 of them in your own state, regardless of where they are. I don't care if they're in Alaska, Timbuktu, Egypt. I don't give two Rudy Poos where they are. When you go out and another team is coming after what you want to be yours, and they're constantly going after you from a financial commitment, and you say, enough is enough. Enough is enough. Whether you like NIL, whether you like kids or recruits or young adults, whatever you want to call them, making the level of money that they're making, guys, you are what the market says you're worth. I'm sorry some of you got to go and work on the streets and shovel shit, and I'm sorry that some of your jobs you don't like being in. I'm sorry that these young men are making more money than you. Actually, you know what? Let me retract. No, I'm not sorry. The market dictates what they are and who they are. And LSU over the last couple of years, before Alston really got his feet in the soil, they did not make moves like this. Sorry, they didn't. Now, it's not to say that you're not going to lose recruits because, guys, it's recruiting. But, guys, the dominating thing that you did today in reference to a team like A&M, a team like Texas, and a team like Miami, who are all in the Final Four of this, along with yourself, A&M came strong after Lamar Brown. Guys, they went all in, and it wasn't enough because you slammed the door on Mike Elko. You shoved Mike Elko into a locker, and that is a fact. On Monday, getting back to the original point, I was in a position for me saying, hey, listen, LSU has been in this exact position before. They had been in the position before where they've been in the top two of some of these elite recruits. I think last recruiting class from high school dictated that. Whether it be Bryce Underwood, which I still think that it was a little egregious. And look, LSU, after losing Bryce Underwood, said, hey, man, you're not going to take this money. We're going to go spend it elsewhere. And it might have benefited LSU. DeCorian Moore, whoever it is, whomstever it is, you were in a position on Monday when this thing started to really heat up. Hey, man, LSU's got to make a decision. And I will always be behind. Always be behind you going out there and trying to make yourself elite. Going and getting three, 5-star defensive linemen when, by the way, and we'll talk about this in a moment, but just to give you a little nugget about what we're going to discuss here today, when you go out there and you get that level of talent, when quite honestly, you go look at the losses that you've had the last 3 seasons in the SEC, that's how you start changing shit. It's how you start changing shit. It's not, guys, we make some things so more non-simple than what they are. The teams that have the best talent normally win. They normally win. Michigan had the most draft picks 2 years ago. Georgia the year before them. Georgia the year before them. Ohio State this year. LSU in 2019. It's undeniable. When you start dominating like you are right now, and you have a situation where Lamar Brown is live on ESPN2, and he says, and I forget the host who on SportsCenter, I don't watch SportsCenter anymore, so I don't even know the gentleman's name, and I apologize. Actually, I don't apologize. You've gotten too political. The bottom line is, guys, he went on national television literally 35 minutes ago and said, I told LSU I want to play on the defensive line. Sounds good. Sounds good. You got 2 interior defensive tackles, which, guys, quite honestly, you have not been able to get at a high, talented level. You did go get Don McKinley a season ago, 5-star defensive tackle. What does Don McKinley do in year 2? It's a massive year for Don McKinley. Now you got 2 5-star defensive tackles yet again. Oh, and by the way, you have the number 2 overall recruit in New Orleans at a Jesuit in the 2027 class and the number one player in the country in Elijah Haven. You got a crap load of talent that's flowing through here. So you start landing those guys, there's no more excuses about talent and developing from within. Last thing before we get rolling and starting getting all these comments, okay? Number one, and I cannot emphasize this enough, the teams that are consistently having the most success, Texas, the last 2 years, they've been in Final Fours. Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia, name them. What do all four of them, and even if you want to throw in Notre Dame being in the national title game last year, what Bama, when they were in the playoffs 2 years ago, what do all of them have in common? What set up Ed Orgeron to win it in 2019? Guys, when you recruit from the high school ranks and develop from within, those teams are winning. Teams that got to rely massively on the portal, guys, name a team that massively relied on the portal and won a natty. Well, you could say, well, Blake, what about Ohio State last year? Guys, Jeremiah Smith, that entire defensive front seven, that entire secondary not named Caleb Downs, guys, they're all from within. They're all from within. This is how you do it. The path of what Brian Kelly has made the logo, right? The standard of what LSU says, the path to the national title is when you start recruiting at this elite of a level. And that's a bona fide fact. All right. Jason Brumfield says, Blaine Bradford, come on home. That one's going to be tough. That one's going to be very tough. Chili Vic with a $2 super chat says, is Blaine Bradford a done deal to Ohio State? This is what I'd say. Let me just say this. No, it's not. It is not a done deal. If LSU wants to make it a done deal, they know exactly what they need to do. And it has nothing to do with finances. Zero. If you were able to flip Blaine Bradford and you had Aiden Hall and Blaine Bradford committed, guys, you might have just flipped your safety room. The Blaine Bradford situation is a little bit different. They are going up against a juggernaut, and I'm not talking about Ohio State. The lead person recruiting for Ohio State in this one is a dog. They know that. LSU has an opening, and LSU has an opening, and Sam Petito at Ohio State is a big part of that. The bottom line is, if you want to rip the Band-Aid off, that you need to go get him. This show, for better or worse, has always been about the truth. And the truth is, there's a dude at Ohio State from Amite, Louisiana, that, guys, if you're going to spend this level of money and you're going to do what you need to do in TV revenue and NIL, having him would be a blessing. It's the bottom line. It's the bottom line. So there you go. Tyler Townsend says, let's go from the 318. Yes, where is everybody watching from today? Where is everybody watching from today? George Seal, our good buddy, says, big news today. Massive news, George. Massive. Absolutely massive. Guys, you can't emphasize how big today was. You legitimately can't. Black Ice, a.k.a. Pressure in the building, says, pockets ain't empty, cuz. The LSU pockets were never empty. Look, if you listen to this show in 2022 at a religious basis, if you did, okay, there was a narrative pushed by the local radio people in stating LSU was behind in NIL. They weren't behind. They didn't know how to allocate funds. Jay Johnson and Kim Mulkey were not behind. Guys, they told Wilson Alexander they spent $10 million in December. You're going to sit here and tell me that you spending that level of money, but you behind. Get out of my face with that. Get out of my face. Dylan Smith says the 318, 3-1 great. Always representing up in AYS. Greatly appreciate you being here. Derek says, Sam Petito, hey, meat baby, you have a position open. You need to go get him. If you want my God's honest opinion, you need to go get him. Because he's going to keep doing it. He's going to make, at minimum, he's going to make your life a living hell. Go get him. Go get him. Donovan says, driving through Atlanta back to North Georgia. Yeah, my brother and sisters living in Georgia. Beautiful, beautiful. The greater Atlanta area. Absolutely beautiful. Glad you're here joining with us. Put the phone down. Don't drive while watching. Just drive while listening, Donovan. We greatly appreciate you being here. Corey says they need to open that in Bojangles in Albany, Louisiana. Yeah, I've been to Bojangles one time. The Albany is getting them a Bojangles. They sure are. Maybe we will frequent that place. Your boy's still trying to diet a little bit, so I don't know how often we'll frequent the Bojangles. All right, let's get to this. We got lots of recruiting that we need to get to here. We need to talk about Lamar Brown and DeAnthony Lafayette. Where is he going to be going? LSU baseball. And Jay Johnson saying, hey, we got some news that we might want to share here too. We'll talk about that as well. But we need to pay some bills around here. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Share to all those groups. If you're on Facebook and to all those social media pages, you're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, notification bell, wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. Every episode is brought to you by our good friends over at ServiceHawk Digital Media. Guys, with the right leads, smart systems, and real growth, you need to get a marketing system that works for you today. Go to servicehawk.io. That's servicehawk.io. If you're an HVAC pro, electrical pro, generator pro, you need to get your marketing system through our good friends over at ServiceHawk. The award-winning marketing team of our good friends Lee and Justin over at ServiceHawk will do the best in the greater Baton Rouge and Hammond area. Get over to servicehawk.io today to be able to get those right leads and smart systems. Also, our good friends over at Section 103 with the more comfortable wear than those club seats that you're sitting in. Guys, you've been seeing that white hat I've been wearing. I shared it with you last night. The national championship shirts, the shirts in general, the hats in general. Guys, they have, in my humble opinion, the best overall apparel for LSU. Go over to section103.com. That's section103.com. Hit that LSU tab. Use the promo code AYS. When you find the shirt or hat that you want, you'll get 10% off of your order if you use that promo code AYS at checkout. That's section103.com. Section103.com, where their apparel is the best around. Let me take a quick break. We come back. We talk about Lamar Brown. What does it mean for LSU as they continue on this recruiting wave? DeAnthony Lafayette is going to be committing soon. We'll get to that. Cooper Moore, is he going to be making a decision here soon? The big right-handed pitcher out of Kansas. We talk all recruiting next. Stay with us.
BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
Hey guys, I want to tell you about our good friends over at RedStick Financial. They're your local residential mortgage broker located right here in the heart of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. At RedStick Financial, they find the bank that works for your particular set of needs to purchase the home of your dreams or refinance the current one. They truly are your partners in this process, and they pride themselves in helping individuals and families with one simple goal in mind, and that is to make home financing approachable, attainable, and stress-free. They are licensed in all Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi. So from Amarillo to Meridian and everything in between, they have you covered. RedStick Financial brings you creative, customized solutions, and they don't believe in the one-size-fits-all when it comes to loans. They even have special options for mobile and manufactured homes located in a flood zone and stated income financing for those of us who are self-employed borrowers. If you or someone you know is looking to buy a home, refinance an existing mortgage, or simply want to know what options are out there for your future, give RedStick Financial a call today at 225-407-9250. That's 225-407-9250. Or check them out online at redstickfinancial.com. That's redstickfinancial.com. Before you purchase the home of your dreams or you go and do that refinance, you need to go local. Go RedStick. All right. So LSU, obviously, and yes, I did see the comment in here. If you do want to send in stars and super chats like George Seal just did right here, you can. We will read all super chats here as well. George Seal with a $5 super chat says, what are we looking like at getting a quarterback? So, George, let's talk about this before we get to Lamar Brown, since you did send in the super chat. That is a massive question that I don't know right now, George, if I can give to you. I think there are a couple of things going on here. Number one, let's start with the obvious. When Bryce Underwood decommitted I say decommitted, but when he flipped from LSU to Michigan, it did a couple of things for LSU quarterback recruiting. Number one, I don't think that LSU and Joe Sloan were really anticipating taking a quarterback in the 2026 class if and when they would have landed Bryce Underwood. I think that their overall goal was to land him, not get somebody in 26, then turn right around and try to go after Elijah Haven in the 2027 class. When he flipped and went to Michigan, it did put a massive strain on the quarterback position. I don't know at the current moment what they do. Now, Faison Brandon out of Tennessee, the Tennessee commit, if you follow Tennessee at all and listen to what they have been talking about in recruiting, I think that there is some question marks flying around that commitment. The 5-star, I think maybe number 1, number 2 overall quarterback in the 2026 class. We will see about that one. There's a lot that has to happen before we even remotely have a deeper conversation on that one. The logical thing would be for quarterback recruiting is if you go back into the transfer portal. If you go back into the portal, you would have to probably get 1, maybe 2, unless you go and get a high school kid that's a lower rated kid and you just let him come in here and you try to develop him, what have you. I don't know. In reference to the quarterback situation, George, I wish I had a definitive answer for you, but there is no definitive answer. I do not know I do not know what they're going to do. I think that they have options. I think going to the portal makes the most sense, but we've talked about this, and I want to bring it back up just in case anybody missed it. You're in a little bit of a problem at quarterback from a depth perspective. Let's just say hypothetically, after this season, and Garrett Nussmeier wins the Heisman, and he's the number 1 overall pick in the country in the NFL draft, and you win a national title, and all those rainbows and unicorns happen because, look, let's just call it what it is. We all want that to happen for Garrett, who might be your new number 18, just throwing that out there. Number 2, I really think that regardless of what happens this season, you still got to look into the future. Hypothetically speaking, and I'm just saying hypothetically because I don't know what's going to happen when it plays out on the field. Let's just say, for an example, that going into next spring, that Michael Van Buren, the transfer from Mississippi State, wins the job. is Juwan Johnson and Colin Hurley going to stick around? It doesn't feel that way for me. If Colin Hurley wins that job, is Michael Van Buren going to do it? If Juwan Johnson or either one of those other quarterbacks going to stay around, I just don't know that. And when you look at the history of the transfer portal of the quarterback position, you would say to yourself, probably not. Right? You would probably say, no, it's not going to happen. So, very quickly before we get to Lamar Brown, I don't know what they're doing at quarterback. At minimum, I think you need to bring in somebody from the high school ranks, and then you got to hit the portal again and hope and pray to God that, I mean, really and truthfully, you just got to pray to God that somebody hits the portal that would want to come in here and develop for a year and then want to be the starter. I don't know. You're in a little bit of a situation. Going into 2027, I do think Pop Houston goes to USC or commits to USC, and I think that you're putting all your chips in for Elijah Haven. I don't think that you can wait and not get a quarterback in this class. You cannot. You cannot. You might even need two, really. You might even need two quarterbacks from the portal, really. So it just all depends. I know that it's probably not the answer that you're looking for, but it's the answer that is just the truth. So we'll see. All right. Let's get to it here. So big news for LSU today is the number one player in the state of Louisiana and the number 7 player in the country, determining based off of On3 and 247, but the number one recruit in the country per ESPN, the defensive lineman, offensive lineman, the athlete, Lamar Brown, the 5-star, has committed to LSU today, choosing LSU over Texas A&M, Texas, and Miami. A massive recruiting win for the Tigers and Brian Kelly and the entire staff at locking down the number one overall player in your state. As we mentioned earlier, and if you're watching a clip that we put on social media, we talked about earlier that NIL was a massive deal here. You made the adjustment that you needed to make from earlier in the week, and you were able to lock this one down. Good on LSU for being able to do that, and they did. But let's talk about getting the commitment and what it means. Now, over the last 2 weeks, LSU has landed 2 defensive linemen that are 5 stars in this class per 247. Number 1 being Trenton Henderson out of Pensacola, Florida, and Lamar Brown, the number 1 player in the state of Louisiana. Tagged along with the number 1 player, or a 5-star player per On3 in Rich Anderson. Gus, we talked about just a minute ago, and I want to dive in deep with this before we get to Lamar Brown. Elite teams, elite programs, when they are making massive national championship and playoff runs, majority of the time it's because up front on either line of scrimmage, one of those two are dominating at a high level. You know, I think of a team that maybe people undervalue some, like Penn State. Because Penn State ran the ball for 200 yards per game last year. They ran the ball against Ohio State. They ran the ball against Notre Dame. They ran the ball against any team that they really played with the double-edged sword that they had at running back. Really and truthfully, though, guys, it was the offensive line that dominated more at a high level, and they had one of the top picks in the NFL drafted edge last season, too. What LSU has done along the defensive line is re-solidified one of the biggest weaknesses that they've had over the last 3 years under Brian Kelly. I'm not going to bring this up much, but you can look at any statistical metric. You can look at anything that you want to. The SEC losses that LSU has had under Brian Kelly have come because defensively up front, you have not been good enough, giving up over 250 yards on the ground per game. In that, the way that you stop that, the number one way that you stop it is going and getting elite talent. Going and getting Trenton Henderson, who's not in your state, but it's in Pensacola, Florida. And guys, let's just be honest, that's not a bad drive from Pensacola to Baton Rouge. It's not close, but it's not a bad drive. You hit I-10, you go straight, and you go straight until you can't go straight no more, and you're in Baton Rouge. The bottom line remains that you have gone out and taken a weakness. Now, you hired Bo Davis. You were hoping that would have solidified a couple of things for you. But when Bo Davis left, some things came up in the air. Man, you got Kevin Peoples, who quite honestly, look at Braden Swinson a year ago and look some of the things that he did in Missouri and just in his overall class. He's always done a really good job at developing guys at edge. What happens when Blake Baker, what happens when Kevin Peoples and this new revamped defensive staff really starts and gets things moving from recruiting? I don't think from the 2025 class that you can put that all on him, all on them. Relationships and recruiting, regardless if you like it or not, are still a big deal. Now, in that, now you're seeing what they're able to do in the overall grand scheme of things. You're able to see what they're able to do when they're able to be in here and able to recruit longer than 3, 4, 5 months, and they're able to get the guys that they wanted. Lamar Brown was a non-decision on if you wanted him or not. The number one player in your state, an absolute freak on the defensive line, and a guy who admitted today in Lamar Brown that, listen, I told all staffs, whether it be Miami, Texas, A&M, or LSU, I want to play on the defensive line. So if that's what he wants to do, I think LSU is going to oblige, and that's where we're going to start at. Do I think that there's a chance that Lamar Brown can play in the interior of the offensive line for LSU? Yes. Kid wants to play defense. Let's start with there first. Guys, Lamar Brown as a prospect is one of the best in this class. There's a reason that he's in the top 10. Guys, whether it be on the field at U-High or whether it really just be when he goes to these camps, when he goes to these 5-star challenges that are put on by On3 rivals or whomever, and guys, he's dominating. And he's dominating at an extremely high level. The reason he was the number one player in your state, the reason he's the number one player on ESPN, the reason he was the number one player that for a lot of teams on their boards of uncommitted prospects is because he's an outright dog. Guys, you turn on the film of Lamar Brown, I think that pad leverage is really good. I think that hand placement is really good. I think identifying the play that he has shown has been borderline elite. I think the motor that he has shown in high school has been really elite. I think some of the pass rushing stuff from the interior has been really elite. Guys, when you look at him as a defensive lineman, a guy that can stop the run, physical enough to not be bullied by interior offensive linemen and being able to get off of them and having the experience of playing the offensive line at a high level and knowing what the guy in front of him wants to do to him has been really good for him. A three technique, which means outside the shoulder, the outside left shoulder or outside right shoulder of a right guard or left guard. Guys, he can play either one. I don't think that he can move in right now and play the one technique or a head-up nose. I think that'd be a little bit too much for him. But as giving him space and being just a disruptive defensive tackle, guys, he can do it. There were a couple of 5-star offensive linemen that he went up against last summer where guys in 5 reps, he had 4 sacks. If that's the best that you have to offer, and you have a guy in front of you where he's just absolutely whipping that ass, well, the hype around him becomes in an extreme level. I think for me, the biggest thing when I look at Lamar Brown is very simple. When I look at him, it's how high of a level of an athlete he really is. Guys, I felt that way, and we talked about a guy like Carius Kern, the 5-star offensive lineman that you got in this last class. Guys, this dude is just a dog of an athlete. High perennial, 5-star, can do anything he wants on a football field. He does it all. I think that he has only scratched the surface of what ultimately he is going to be and what he can be. I think you add something else in this too. A guy that wanted to be here, a guy that's from Baton Rouge or the surrounding Baton Rouge area. But I think there's something that's going to be missed in this commitment that's bigger than anything. Guys, I saw Kyle Williams this spring, all spring. I don't know, for me, if there is another human being that you've had along the defensive line that knows more about teaching and what needs to be done in the interior of the defensive line more than Kyle Williams. Guys, he played in right around, I think it was 118, but let's just round up 2 games. He played in 120 games in the NFL. Plus. Actually, I think he started 118 games. I think he played in like 145. Nobody knows the interior and technique better than Kyle Williams, especially from being an undersized defensive lineman. When you add high levels of talent with a guy that can develop the technique, that is where, when you see teams in the past, Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, even to some extent in some years in the past, that's where you take the next level. I know that I emphasized this in the beginning and want to say it again. I am proud to, number one, call myself an LSU fan, but number two, I am proud that you had this high level of a talented kid and you would not take BK, Austin Thomas, Kyle Williams, whoever. People wouldn't take no for an answer. And Austin and Brian Kelly and everybody deserves their flowers in getting this one done, because, guys, what this young man could be is somewhat sky the limit. You have had, along with Richard Anderson, that needs to be brought into this conversation, along with Dominic McKinley, that also needs to be brought up in this conversation. Because you've had 3 defensive linemen that are 5-star level players, 4 total, with Trenton Henderson. Guys, if you hit on 2 of those that are at a high level, it breeds playoff success. It breeds national title run success, because a quarterback in a run game can't do shit if you're just dominating up front. Guys, let's just be honest. It's how Georgia dominated in 2022 and 2023. It's how they dominated. It's how they continue to dominate. You now, from a defensive line perspective, are recruiting at the level that they are. You know, we talk about this in reference to, hey, man, what makes Texas or Bama or whoever the number 1 overall class in the country? Well, guys, the line of scrimmage is what makes them what they are. We talked about in our deep dive of this defense before SEC Media Days that starts on Monday, and Brian Kelly is the first coach that will be speaking. It's a good vibe going into SEC Media Days, getting this one. It's a bigger vibe in reference to you landing the top player in your state and you revamping what you've done on the defensive line. Now, Blake Baker, Kevin Peoples, Austin Thomas, Brian Kelly, how do I want to say this without people booing me? If you had to lose something, if you had to lose a top 5 recruit in the state, I'd rather it be at safety than a defensive line. Because, guys, quite honestly, that's how you just win. Safety doesn't come into play when you have a 5-star defensive tackle that's dominating up front. They don't get to him. It's a massive day. But, guys, right now you sit with 3 5-star recruits in Rich Anderson, Trenton Henderson, and Lamar Brown. I don't know what else you could say about that other than it's elite. It is, guys, it's what Georgia does. It's what Texas does. It's what Saban did. I think that if you continue to recruit at this level, sky's the limit. Now, it's not the only 5-star lineman that you're going after. Darius Gray out of Richmond, Virginia. Guys, LSU is all over him. And I do not believe, ironically, that you're done along the defensive line, especially along at defensive tackle. Guys, Deuce Gerald's out of Georgia. The 4-star on 247 is someone that is out there that is uncommitted. There are 3 schools that are after him, and it would seem per some of the reports coming out of Oregon and some of the reports that we've heard out of LSU. It might come down for Deuce Gerald's. It might come down to LSU and Oregon, and I know Ohio State has been thrown in there with Larry Johnson, et cetera, but the feeling at the current moment is that it's coming down to LSU and Oregon. We'll throw this out there, and there's a name that I have not brought up the entire show. I was told about 8 months ago. Well, are we in all? No. Yeah. No, 7 months ago, when the whole Bo Davis thing started to go down. Frank Wilson deserves his flowers too. A lot has been made on Frank and in some of the situations that have been going on, running back, etc. But Frank Wilson, the godfather of LSU recruiting, has had a lot of things that have happened where he has had to step in. I think Deuce Gerald's, who is a top 100 player in the country, I think he currently sits around 75 in the total overall rankings. With that, I still think that you're after another defensive tackle. I still think you're after another defensive lineman, and it also doesn't go to the fact that you're still probably after the little I say the little McKinley brother, but the other McKinley brother, Dom's little brother, and Darius. Because they're trying to revamp this entire defensive line. They are this, from what I heard in the past, and now that you're starting to land some of these, I think that LSU is just trying to dominate what they're doing up front, like what they did with Solomon Thomas last year in the interior of the offensive line, Carius Kern, and now you're doing it defensively. Guys, when you start stacking that many 5-star offense and defensive linemen, guys, with what you can do in this state with receiver, the sky is the limit. You got to admit, man, that LSU has done some very, very good things. It does not mean that LSU and their recruiting classes are complete. There are some holes that they need to fill. Safety, their quarterback, running back, there's still some areas. But Frank has had to take on a little bit more than maybe most would have had to take on. And listen, he was a big part of this Lamar Brown thing too. Massive part of it. So you get Darius Gray, you get Deuce Gerald's, and Darius Gray's the number 1 interior offensive lineman in the country. You go into games where you start bullying people up front, guys, you're going to start beating the shit out of people. I know that some of you will say, well, Blake, sometimes 5 stars are bust, and that is true. Guys, if you're hitting on 50% of 10 of them, guys, that's when you start winning at a high level. So good on LSU and good on them as well. There's another quote-unquote outside linebacker edge that we haven't talked about. Speaking about defensive line, a young man that commits at 3 p.m., I think Central Standard Time or maybe Eastern Standard Time. I forgive me for not remembering. I should have written that down. Maybe you guys in the chat can tell me, when does DeAnthony Lafayette commit? I think it's 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Maybe I'm wrong there. Regardless of that, there is another edge outside linebacker that LSU is after, and 3-star edge DeAnthony Lafayette, 6'1", 235, 240, out of Orlando, Florida. A 3-star. Hold on one second. Guys, this DeAnthony Lafayette kid can play. There's a couple of things that happen with this DeAnthony Lafayette young man that I think is interesting. Guys, I think LSU might have scouted a diamond in the rough here. I really do. 6'1", 235. I know a lot of you will say to yourselves, Blake, what? Guys, he has like a 6'9" wingspan. Here's a hot take. LSU's in the battle today for DeAnthony Lafayette. If they land him, and you got Trent Henderson, Rich Anderson, Lamar Brown, let's just say you're still going after Deuce Gerald's. Shit. This kid Lafayette can play, and he's got a great name. Outside of ULL, he's got a great name. I think that they started scouting this kid. I was told that when they were watching some film of some Florida prospects, that they saw this kid playing, and they were like, "Who in the hell is this kid?" I don't think he's a 3-star personally. I don't think he's a 3-star. Guys, it makes me so joyous, and I hope that it makes all of you joyous that if you do get Lamar Brown today, you do get DeAnthony Lafayette, who, guys, I think that from an edge rush perspective, this kid can play. This kid can really play. I don't think that he is a 3-down edge or a 3-down outside linebacker or online scrimmage outside backer. I don't know right now if he can play that role. Guys, he plays with some serious toughness. He is very physical at the point of attack. And, guys, people can't really catch him. He's got serious speed. I don't know if he could hold up down in, down out, and he would have to develop this. I don't know if he could hold up in the running game on a down in, down out basis. You start talking about pass rush specialist and being physical and doing some things, that's when you start really making your hay. I don't think the kid's a 3-star. I don't agree with the 700th. I think he's 700 out of the top 1,000 players in the country. I think that he is more of a 4-star athlete because he moves all around. You turn on the film, he's at left end, he's at right end, or right backer, right outside backer, left outside backer. There were some times that he was at off-ball linebacker. I think there was a play at the end of this huddle video where he drops back in coverage and he picks a ball off and he outruns a wide receiver that, I mean, guys, quite honestly, that can move. I mean, the kid can really play. LSU is setting up themselves at a very good pace and a very good avenue and area right now along the defensive front. And, guys, quite honestly, I absolutely love it. Do need some linebackers. Let's see what they do there. I don't know if they don't go in the portal for that as well. All right. Let's get to it here. Jenkins says, is this making up for Jakeem Stewart? Yeah, I guess to some extent. To some extent. Now, I think that what they're doing here, I think that whole situation, I think it got from a financial standpoint that you're like, hey, man, I'm just not going to do that. And we're not going to do that. If you want to go somewhere else and they're going to do that for you, by all means, go and do it. I don't really think it's making up. I think it's more or less of like, you just got to chalk that one up to it sucks, but here we are. Here we are. Willie King says if Lafayette signs with LSU, he'll eventually play that star position. Very well could. He's athletic enough. And listen, Willie, I think Willie brings up an interesting point here. Pro football, and Willie, we've talked about this a lot, and I think Willie's right here. He could definitely do that in some situations. I think that Lafayette, for what it's worth, considering the fact, let's just say hypothetically Blake Baker stays for a couple years, hypothetically, and you have that star role. Guys, Pro Football Focus put out the stat that star role position, like AKA Major Burns, whatever, LSU sent on blitzes 50% of the time. So, again, it's like the Harold Perkins effect when we talk about LSU going into the season. What do you consider Perk? What do you consider Perk? I don't know what Lafayette would look like in coverage on a down in, down out basis with as much as teams throw the football in the SEC right now. But I don't disagree with Willie here. Edge, outside backer, star. I don't know if he's athletic enough to be a 3-down player at star. And I don't know if he's athletic enough in reference to a physical standpoint to be on the edge. They see something in him, and I think that they scouted him well. I think it was a really good scouting pickup if he does sign and he does commit to LSU today. Mitch says 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Yeah, it always throws me off. It always throws me off. Ray on YouTube says, Blake, how do you think Billy Lucci is doing this afternoon? I think Billy, I don't know Billy. I know we've had our shots back and forth with one another on Twitter. I think that Billy will act like it doesn't matter when it matters massively. That's what I think. Taki on YouTube says, BK said just allow a little time for a fresh roster. He knew he could turn LSU into an in-state recruiting powerhouse, and my Lord, I'm so ready for the Clemson game. Yeah, look, I mean, have there's been some misses in situations with Brian Kelly at LSU? Yes. You also have had situations like this. You got to give it to him, man. They got to develop. They've got to develop. They missed early on. Again, I will say this. It was never about, and listen, man, look, let me just say this on Brian Kelly. Dog, do we realize what it is? Like, bro, hold on. Let's all of us are adults in here. My man gave $1 million of his own money. Well, Blake, we're giving him $10 million. You ain't giving him $10 million. LSU gave him $10 million. He gave $1 million. Guys, hold on. The man gave $1 million in a portal match. Then he gave $1 million for the I don't know what he's calling it, and I know BK showed us the media around in it, the health center, the recovery center. Guys, listen, there's some things that BK gets hit on in some areas. Guys, don't act like, I mean, the man really did put $2 million and he put his money where his mouth is. You got some Rudy Poos out here that'll say, well, it could be better. Sound like the water boy when he's running after a quarterback. I mean, okay, fine. No one's perfect. The man has come in here and spent a shitload of his own money. It is his money. You can't say that about him. So, yeah. Ronnie Scott said a star. I don't agree with that completely. I agree with it some, mostly. I think it could happen if he is a star role. Because you got to realize 50% of that time, though, in those situations is him playing in coverage. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. Justin Knox says Carrollton commit at 4 looking like he's going to Texas or Baylor, but LSU is in his top 4. We'll see there. There's a reason we didn't bring him up. All right. Maybe LSU makes a move here at the end. We'll see. Anything can happen in recruiting. I've literally seen LSU. Listen, 3 years ago, I'm not going to bring up the recruit. 3 years ago, I saw LSU flip a recruit within 5 minutes before he went on the podium and committed. Literally. I'll give you something here too. Last summer I was in Dallas. And the stream did not go off on time because of some other situations, like they had a celebration with Decorian Moore. Okay. The balloon fixtures fell down and we had to start over. We had to wait. And my brother was in there with me. This exact phone from sources started blowing up from a lot of people that you know. Blake, what's going on? What's going on? Why aren't we starting on time? And I had to tell all of them, and I put all of those AKA sources in a group text and said, listen, don't panic. Nothing's going on. The balloon structures fail. And 7 of those sources started busting out laughing in that group text. I say that to bring up, in that time, though, the reason that those sources were doing that was because I don't think DeCorian Moore was only getting LSU texts. But you do what you got to do. You do what you got to do. And he did commit to LSU then. And then, the rest was history. All right, let's get to this. Let me get to a quick break. I need to pay some bills. By the way, Jay Johnson says, hold on. I don't know if we're done in recruiting from all sports. We'll talk about a little bit of LSU baseball next. Stay with us. Guys, let me tell you about our good friends over at Grand Slam Heating and Air, where your comfort is their top priority. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they promise to provide customers with high-quality HVAC service at an affordable price while ensuring the homeowner peace of mind. From their office to your home, they guarantee the best hassle-free experience around. Efficiency and comfort is their game. Let them make your home Grand Slam today. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they're offering their annual maintenance plan starting off at $18.75 a month and also doing those $99 tune-up promotion. They provide free estimates for system and ductwork replacement, as well as offering financing to get the job done with no money up front. From Baton Rouge to Hammond to Covington, they're all around. So what you need to do today, give them a call at 225-380-9065. That's 225-380-9065. Or go over to their website, getgrandslamair.com. That's getgrandslamair.com, where your comfort is their top priority. Guys, I want to talk to you about our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company. Are you facing tough times due to an injury from a car accident, navigating the complexities of divorce, or purchasing a new home? At the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company, they understand the challenges you're going through, and they are here to help. The lawyer team of Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, along with Morgan Daniels, have the experience and proven track record to give you that peace of mind. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600 to schedule a free consultation at their brand new office located in historic downtown Ponchatoula. They're also doing a special, the AYS special. If you're refinancing or closing on a home in Southeast Louisiana, request the Drake Title Company to handle your closing. If you mention Blake Ruffino and AYS, you're going to receive a $400 discount on title fees. Again, give them a call at 985-386-7600. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on. Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Falls and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Falls has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirement. Hey, Southwest Louisiana, are you ready to gear up for your next outdoor adventure or tackle that next big job on the farm? Then head on over to Henderson Tractors, Boats, and Power Sports. At Henderson and Lake Charles, they've got everything you need under one massive 30,000 square foot indoor showroom. Kubota tractors and mowers to power through the toughest tasks. Polaris off-road bikes and side-by-sides to conquer any trail. And tracker boats with brands like Ranger, Nitro, Sun Tracker, and Regency pontoons for a day out on the water. Whether you're a farmer or a hunter or just someone who loves the great outdoors, Henderson has what you need to get the job done and have fun while doing it. Browse their new and used inventory over at their website, hendersonimplement.com. That's hendersonimplement.com. Or give them a call today at 337-436-4366. That's 337-436-4366. Or go see them over in Lake Charles on the corner of East McNee Street and Highway 14. Remember, if you need a tractor, go to Henderson. Need a boat? Go to Henderson. Or if you need an ATV or side-by-side, you know where to go. Henderson,
Just let them know that your good friend Blake Ruffino over at AYS sent you on by.
We're back. You know, I always think it's funny when people start attacking us on social media. Let me ask y'all a question. Why is it that even when there are things to be happy about, some of you are still so mad at the world? Goodness gracious. Lamar Brown commits today. Some of y'all would have thought that somebody's dog died. That's number one. Number two, I just asked the question, why don't some of you keep the same fucking energy when y'all see your boy in person? You know, let me give an example. The other day, my wife and I go out to eat. No big deal. Just going out with my wife, out to eat. No big deal. And we're sitting there. And a couple of people walk up. Hey, man, love the show. Keep killing it, whatever. And and one of them, I'm like, hey, I think I know that guy. Okay. Go to what I thought was his Twitter page. Wind up, we confirmed while we're sitting at the table, his Twitter page. And lo and behold, I go and look at all the shit that he said to me over the years. Okay? Dude takes massive amounts of shots at me constantly. And I'm saying that, so we're leaving. Me and my wife are leaving. And I'm like, oh, dude, this motherfucker. He comes back up to me. He's like, hey, man, have a good one. Nice meeting you. And I'm just looking at him like, hey, man, I'm glad we didn't have the same energy that you gave to me on Twitter. He goes, oh, man, it's just all in fun. I'm like, I don't think it's all in fun. Why don't we do it here? I never fucking get this. If you're going to talk shit on social media, talk shit in person. God, that shit pisses me off. Don't be a fucking bitch. Good Lord to some of you. You're going to talk that shit. Come talk that shit. I would respect you a lot more if you talk that shit. All right. Good Lord. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. All right. Before we get out of here, Jay Johnson is not done in recruiting either, especially from the transfer portal. Cooper Moore, the Kansas right-handed pitcher who went 7-3 last year with a 3.96 ERA in 14 starts and 88 and 2/3 innings pitched, only allowed 39 runs with 19 walks in 88 innings. That's a key. Dude was always around the strike zone. Had 85 strikeouts last season as well for the Kansas Jayhawks. Anthony Ianson, anyone? Now, I don't know if Cooper Moore has the level of stuff that Anthony Ianson does or did a year ago. Guys, 19 walks and 88 innings pitched in any Power 4 conference is a massive deal. I do think LSU sits in a really good position here. I did put a pick in for Cooper Moore. Let's see how this progresses. Guys, I think that Cooper Moore can come in and start for you and be in that weekend rotation. I think of all the guys that went into the portal this year for baseball, he is one of the ones that I look at the most and say, this reminds me a little bit of Anthony Ianson. I think that this is a high-level recruit. In my humble opinion, what Jay Johnson does the best is recruiting. And listen, there were 7 SEC teams that were after Cooper Moore. If LSU does land him, you would have gotten him over Arkansas, Tennessee, Florida, Texas A&M, a lot. LSU really likes this kid a lot. He was on a visit yesterday, I think 2 days ago too. I think he came in, was on a visit yesterday. From what I understand, was there this morning as well. If LSU lands this one, it's going to be a massive kaboom for Jay Johnson, Nate Yeske, and that entire staff. I've heard a lot of you ask me the question of, Blake, are they going out and getting some hitters? I don't think that they were going to do that right now because I still believe that they believe that they are going to retain some from the draft, and they think that they feel good there. So we'll see. So keep your eyes on Cooper Moore. Keep your eyes on what LSU does there as well. All right. David Keith says 10 to 15% chance he's talking about Tony Vitello. I am not. I am not. But I'm just saying, I don't even know who this guy is who's talking shit to us on Twitter. I mean, because it's like a fake account, right? Like, I don't even know who it is. But all I ask is, if you're going to talk, well, I responded to him on Twitter. Pablito. All I ask is for all of you, if you want to talk that shit, guys, I'm not hard to find. I'm not hard to find. In Omaha, there were some of you that like talk shit to us on Twitter or on Facebook or wherever. And dude, y'all are getting pictures with your boy. Shit's so weak. Shit is just so weak. Absolutely insane. Brandon says, don't get my blood pressure up. My pulse right now is 70. No, it's 81. I don't get worked up over the shit. I'm just calling you out for those who do it. All right. Got some family stuff I need to go take care of. We'll see y'all again soon. Y'all have a great weekend. I'm going to play college football 26. That's my weekend, but I do got some family stuff I got to go do too first. We'll see y'all soon, man. Lamar Brown commits, a big deal for LSU. We'll see y'all soon. Y'all have a good one. Peace.